Hello and welcome. Well, here we are in COVID lockdown. We can make hanging out at home more productive by focusing on improving ourselves. And what better opportunity to execute some desired behavioural changes? Apologies for the sound quality. I too am in lockdown, so there are cars going past my home, and you'll probably hear a few of those. Today I'm going to teach you how to use the Swish technique. This is a technique that was originally developed by a fellow named Richard Bandler. There are many variations of this, but as this is probably your first exposure to it, I've opted to keep it nice and simple. So please don't listen to this recording or practice this technique whilst driving, operating machinery, or walking a tightrope. This method is about replacing an undesirable behaviour with a desirable one by creating some nice new neural pathways for you. And it's actually far simpler than you might have once thought. As we go through this process, and as you continue to practice it, you may rapidly come to realize that it's actually really simple. And the more you practice it, the simpler it becomes, and the simpler it becomes, the more effective it becomes. But first of all, we need to establish what undesirable behavior you want to change and what desirable behavior you want to replace it with. For example, you might want to replace lying on the couch with going to the gym, or replace reaching for chocolate with reaching for carrots, or giggling unsettlingly with something like laughing maniacally, or perhaps sleeping in with leaping up out of bed early. It's entirely up to you. Not now, but in a moment, I'm going to give you some time to think about this. But when you consider the undesirable behavior, take some time to look at what happens internally as it triggers. This could be a mental image, a feeling, a piece of internal dialogue. It doesn't matter. Just have a think and see if you can identify that. If you cannot easily identify it, then instead ask yourself the question, if you could identify it, what do you think it would be? Don't overanalyze. If you can't identify it, what do you think it would be? Just go with your first answer and keep that in your mind. If you find you still can't find an answer to this, instead look at the first action that you take when the behavior triggers. For example, this might be approaching the fridge in which the chocolate is housed, or reaching for the snooze button to lie in. This is all important, as the earlier the point in the chain of causality that we catch the behavior, the easier it will be for us to replace that behavior with your preferred alternative behavior. So now, take as long as you like to decide which undesirable behavior you want to change. Seek out the earliest trigger, or the earliest part of the chain of causality that you can find, and also choose what desirable behavior you want to replace it with. Pause the recording now while you do this, and resume playing once you're ready. Great, welcome back. Shortly you're going to replace your old undesirable behavior with your preferred desirable behavior. This technique is very process-driven and is very important to carry out in the right sequence. So before we begin the session proper, I'll talk you through the mechanics of the technique. Then I'll take you through a short exercise to help you focus, and then I'll guide you through actually applying the technique. In terms of mechanics, this process will involve you forming a bright, clear, mental image of your undesirable behavior, preferably at the moment of triggering, or at least as early on in the chain of causality as you can. You don't need to do this just yet, as I'm still just explaining the mechanics. Don't worry, I'll guide you through the whole thing step by step in a little while. Next, you'll set this image aside and form an image of yourself performing the desired behaviour. This image should be bright and colourful and as clearly defined as possible. The more salient, the better. The image should be strong and empowering. Many people like to associate a piece of music or other sounds with this image and play it in the background of their minds whilst viewing it. Next, you'll take the good image and shrink it down in your mind. Make it grey like an old photograph and set it in a little corner of your mental picture. Once you've done this, you'll bring the image of this undesirable behaviour, the bad image, back into full view in your mind's eye, fully coloured, bright, defined and salient. Again, don't worry, I'm just explaining the mechanics. I'll guide you through this process shortly. It'll make a lot more sense once we get going. Now, what I've described so far is the setup for executing the technique. The execution will be as follows. You'll do two things simultaneously. You'll make that big, prominent bad image drain of colour, distort, and become indistinct, and picture it flying away from you into the far distance. And at the same moment, you'll pull that good image forward towards you whilst making it bright, colourful and salient, running that internal soundtrack that you've associated with it. And let that get louder and louder until that good image is entirely to the forefront, totally prominent and salient, occupying the whole screen of your mind's eye. And then you'll hold it for a few seconds. It is vital that the transition of the two images is simultaneous and that it happens very fast. The next step is to break your mental state at this point. There are many ways of doing this, but for this exercise, I'll simply have you open your eyes and close them again. Then we'll repeat the process. It may sound a little complicated to begin with, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be amazed at how simple it actually is and how easily you can do it in just a few seconds. The more you practice, the easier it will become, and the easier it becomes, the more powerfully effective it will be. Now, I'm going to talk you through a simple exercise to focus your attention. After that, I'll take you through the exercise itself, slowly several times, and then we'll do it 5 times more quickly. It'll only take a couple of minutes. Now sit or lie down somewhere and make yourself comfortable. You can pause the recording while you do this if you like. Now that you're ready, I'd like you to pick a spot on the wall or ceiling directly in front of you. Now, without moving your head, move your eyes to look as far to the left as you can and hold it there for a moment. Now move your eyes as far to the right as you can and hold that for a moment. Now back to the left and back to the right, left, right, left, right. Now to the center, looking straight ahead. Now focus on a spot on the wall or ceiling just a little way above your normal eye height. Keeping your eyes there, take a slow, deep breath in so your lungs are fully inflated. And hold. And slowly exhale, emptying your lungs completely. Now just relaxing and breathing normally. Close your eyes now. Depending on whether you're sitting or lying, become aware of the feeling beneath your back, feet or posterior, of whatever surface you're on. And focus on my voice as I count from 5 down to 1, breathing normally all the while. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Consider the blackness on the inside of your eyelids to be a big black movie screen. Now on that screen, bring the image of the old, undesirable behaviour at the earliest point in its triggering that you found into view so that it fills up the whole screen. Make sure the colours are bright and the image is as clear as possible. Don't fret, we'll be getting rid of it soon enough. Now spend a little while examining the image, that old bad negative image. Now set it aside and allow the image of the desired alternative behaviour, the good image, to form in its place, filling up the whole screen, detailed, bright, colourful, clearly defined and highly salient. If you have a piece of music or other sound that you associate with this image in mind, let it run through your mind now and take a few moments to enjoy this experience. Now turn off the internal soundtrack if you have one. Make the image grey, shrink it down, and place it in a corner of the screen. Now we are all set up and it's time for the process to begin properly. Take a deep, slow breath and relax some more. And now we'll get started. Bring the old bad image back, full size, colour and brightness, onto the screen and hold it there. Not now, but when I snap my fingers, you will simultaneously make this image grey like an old photo. Let the image distort and become indistinct, and send it far away into the background as it shrinks to a tiny dot. And at the same time, you'll pull the good image towards you at super high speed, filling it again with colour and brightness, as salient as possible, and activating that internal soundtrack if you have one. So when you hear my fingers snap, make the old image grey and distorted while casting it away far into the background, and at the same moment pulling the good image forward to occupy the whole screen at super high speed and flooding it with bright colour and detail and playing that internal soundtrack when you hear me snap my fingers. Ready? Now hold that new image. Let more and more detail form. If you have a soundtrack, let it grow louder and louder and louder as the image becomes brighter and brighter and more colourful. Now open your eyes. Take a deep breath and close your eyes again. Now put the old image back on the screen inside your eyelids, fully bright and coloured, detailed, and hold it for a moment. When you hear me snap my fingers, you'll switch it out with a new image as before, instantly draining all the colour from the old image so it's just grey, distorting it and sending it far into the background, whilst at the same time pulling that new image forward out of the corner so that it takes up the whole screen, instantly flooding it with colour and detail and sound. Hold it for a moment. Let it get even brighter and more detail. Let the soundtrack get louder and louder. brighter and brighter, louder and louder. And open your eyes. Take a nice, slow, deep breath. And close your eyes again. Put the old image back on screen, colour and detail, and hold for a moment. When you hear my fingers snap, you'll make it grey and distort it, sending it away into the background, and at the same instant, pulling a new image forward at super fast speed to occupy the entire screen in full living colour and detail, and with any accompanying music or sounds. Hold it for a moment, brighter and brighter, louder and louder, more and more salient. Now open your eyes. Deep breath. Close your eyes again. Now we're going to go through the process 5 more times, getting faster as we go and with less talking from me. Bring up the old image. When my fingers snap, switch it out with a new image as before. Open your eyes. Close your eyes. Bring up the old image, and when you hear my fingers snap, switch it out with a new image in the same manner as we were doing before. Open your eyes. Close your eyes. Again, bring up that old image just like we did before, and when you hear my fingers snap, switch it out with the new image just as we've been doing the whole time. Open your eyes. Close your eyes. Bring up that old image. Open your eyes. Close your eyes. And back to the start with the old image. Open your eyes. And close your eyes. There. See how simple it is? As you continue to practice this technique, you'll soon find you don't need the recording anymore, that you can execute this method entirely by yourself and even more quickly. I suggest that as you effect the transition to your new desired behaviour, that you practice this technique in sets of 5 repetitions, and doing that about 5 times a day. It won't be long before you can do a set of 5 repetitions in well under 30 seconds. The more you practice, the easier it will get, and the easier it gets, the more powerfully effective it becomes. This concludes this session, so feel free to relax for a little while before returning to your day.